Watch out, it's a live mic.
This is Mark McNease in New York City with my co-host Rick Rose in Shreveport, Louisiana, and you're listening to another edition of Live Mic Weekend. Good morning, everybody. This is Mark out here in the New Jersey woods.
Oh, nice. And this is Rick in the heart of downtown Shreveport, Louisiana. I checked temperatures this morning, Mark. You're equal to my temperature today, so it must be fall because that's when most temperatures equalize across the country.
Is this body temp?
Well, I don't know. No, I'm a little hotter than you, but I'm talking about like.
I know that,
God
but you're also younger. You're like 5
younger.
years younger than me. You should be hotter.
It makes a big difference when one's 55, one's 50. It's all the same after that point. You know
Now,
that.
we have a bunch of deer here and a gun club. What's going on around you?
We have the Revel. Oh, the Revel ended today. No, nothing severe. But did you see it?
The Rebel?
Did you see it?
Did I see what?
Bieber's penis.
Oh, Justin Bieber's thing. No, I did not look. They talked about it on TV, but I skipped it.
Oh, really? Because it was a big story in your New York paper.
Yeah, I'm not a big Bieber fan.
No. And do you recall, like, my introduction to Justin Bieber was through your husband, Frank. You and he went to one of those events. Mark's husband, by the way, for those listening this morning, is real heavy into the music scene. That's his business. And we went to see some of our stars sing. And he's like, oh, yeah, here's this young guy from Canada. He's going to be big.
Oh, my God, you're right. That Justin Bieber was there.
And he was like, no one was chasing him or anything. He was just this young kid.
He was nobody. He was a punk kid. He's
Remember?
still a punk kid.
And
but
Frank was like, this guy's going to be big. I'm like, he is.
Wow,
not.
Frank, he should have had a piece of that, really.
He should have. He knew how big he was.
We could retire now. Now, before we get into our show, let's let everybody know, coming October 31st, Halloween, which is also my birthday weekend. I love being a Halloween baby. You and I are launching The Twist, which is our big final iteration of our podcast. We're taking it solo. We're doing it. It's got its own website, thetwistpodcast.com. Folks can check it out. There's nothing there right now but some archive, what we're doing now, the Live Mic Weekends. But you and I have been doing this for a couple years, in various different forms, and we just said, let's really go with it. Let's go with it, make it its own thing, and I'm so excited, and it's launching Halloween, complete with scary sound effects.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's a spin-off, man. It's like Golden Girls Goes Golden Hotel or whatever their spin-off was.
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be big, guys. It's gonna be big. But we got some testing that out. We're gonna kind of start today's show with some headlines. That's how we're gonna start the twist, right?
Yep, the Weekly Readlines. I do them in text, and I'll stop saying that. But I love headlines. So every weekend, at the beginning of every show, I'm gonna read just 3 or 4 headlines because it's we got to keep. Oh, you got your bell too.
So what's in the news, Mark?
Dueling bells.
Yeah.
Okay. Alabama hospitals are quietly drug testing new mothers without their consent and turning the results over to the authorities. Now, I happen to think this is horrible. It can result in the babies being taken away from their mothers, and in some cases, the mothers incarcerated. Now, lots of folks, and I guess I should just kind of keep these short, but there's so many like drug test them folks out there, and I don't get it. They want to drug test anybody who gets public assistance, but they never want to drug test CEOs. They don't want to drug test anyone who holds public office. It always seems like a war on the less fortunate to me. Another headline in Texas, in the textbook, a textbook redefined slaves, and this went viral because a mother took a picture of her son's textbook. And it had a little blowout blurb, what do you call them, pop-ups, only in a book. And it said, quote, the Atlantic slave trade between the 1500s and 1800s brought millions of workers from Africa to the southern United States to work on agricultural plantations. So here you have these conservatives in Texas who have been doing this for years. This is not new, but they're sort of rewriting history and erasing slavery, erasing things that don't say America's an amazing country and we've never done anything wrong. So they're basically saying slaves were workers. Apparently they had like millions of I visas. I don't know.
And they were brought over on cruise ships.
Yeah, it was immigration. It wasn't. They weren't being captured and enslaved. They immigrated to the United States.
Sure.
So the mother put this shit out there, and everybody said, "Wait a minute." So the textbook people, I think it was. I want to say Putnam. I don't know. They apologized, but this is the kind of stuff that's going on in this country. Chinese veg heads across China. This is a growing fad.
Oh, I know. I love
I actually
that.
was
It's an
kind of
imagery.
interested, but I
Oh,
went out
fascinating.
looking for like plastic flowers for my head, but I couldn't find any. Grown-ups, these are adults, are sporting plastic decorations on their heads in the shapes of vegetables, fruits, and flowers. Very, very big in China.
Mhm.
And lastly, and a sad commentary on the state of America, the United States, Rick, I hope you're going to be okay with this, was ranked ninth in the best places to die. So,
Ugh.
I mean, can you imagine that we're America, goddammit. It should be a better place to die.
Geez, I'm gonna have to start looking for the top 8 because 9's not acceptable.
Oh,
I'd go up.
we're up to our topics.
Commentary where we can really talk about how we feel. So what's really burning up for you this week, Mark?
Well, I had well, we're also, just so folks know, we're doing 2 now. We've been doing 3, but we're gonna cut it to 2 because we have these other segments that we're doing now
Who's counting?
as part of the upcoming Twist podcast.
Yes.
So I'm going to start with GOP House is on fire, man. Huge news. It's everywhere. You can't really get away from it. Boehner, of course, said, I'm out of here. And I don't blame him. But then McCarthy was his number 2 guy because, of course, they cannibalized Eric Cantor. He's not there anymore. So McCarthy was going to run and be the Speaker of the House. And then some shit went down and he was threatened. I read that he was
Adultery or some stuff.
just
Yeah.
sort of not so vaguely threatened because he'd had an affair with some woman
Right.
in Congress.
Right.
And so he's not going to do it. And now they're trying to get Paul Ryan to do it. And Ryan's like, I don't want this job. And I don't
I don't want
blame
to
him.
close down government. I mean, that's the big thing.
So I have no idea what's going to happen, but it's fascinating and very scary too, because the folks who are behind this, these 40 to 50, diehard, let's just destroy the government Republicans, they could really, really, really put us in a bad situation.
I just hope that Biden and Obama last the next month, because if they don't, they both check out at the same time. Then we're stuck with President Boehner, and then he probably never would resign. But yeah, he said he'll keep it as long as he has to. You heard that too, right?
But
That's
he
good.
could be keeping it all the way to quadruple
Shit,
bypass.
no one wants it. I know.
I wouldn't want the job.
I wouldn't either. In Japan, Shibuya Ward in Tokyo, which is a part of a city in a big country filled with people, recently passed a new law providing marriage certification to same-sex couples. It's the only place in Japan that currently does so. And I got to thinking about it today because, I lived there, let's see, when I was 18, so like 32 years ago, and the country still hasn't changed. It's still, almost sinful to talk about same-sex relationships. It's hard enough to talk about your sexual orientation. I think they still refer to it as preference. But there's a thing out there, guys. It's called 10,000 People. It's a photography exhibit, and over the course of time, it's actually called Out in Japan. Japanese photographers went out and photographed 10,000 people who are gay or part of the LGBT community who told their stories. It's fascinating. One gentleman, I love this quote, he says, it's important for people to see the faces of LGBT individuals and know that they are all around us in our daily lives. There's nothing better than being able to come out to those around you. And they're hoping that this exhibit, which was displayed over in Tokyo's Hibiya Theater up until last week, they're hoping to take it on the road and really get some movement in the, in gay equality over in Japan, because we know it exists.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, I never really think of Japan as a hotbed of animosity toward us. But it's a very traditional
cool
society.
Yeah, interesting. But that's it, guys. It's called Out in Japan. Check it out.
Okay. Alabama. Neil Young was right. I don't know. That's a reference that you kind of have to be older to know, or really into music. Because he did the song Alabama. You got a wheel in the ditch and a wheel on the track. So anyways, they still have a wheel in the ditch. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm reading about these probate judges, because in that state, the probate judges are the ones who marry people. Every state's different how it's all set up in different places, like Kentucky, the clerk's elected. But anyways, in Alabama, the probate judges, of course, quite a few of them are deeply, deeply religious with their super deeply held religious beliefs. And someday I'll talk about that, because my beliefs are just as deeply held. But anyways, they're like saying we're not going to marry homosexuals, and you've got a couple of them now that are saying they should defy the Supreme Court, and only the federal government then should issue same-sex marriage licenses. And it's just crazy. It's like, stop kicking and screaming. 90% of this country has effectively moved on. I've always thought that gay marriages are same. I don't even like the term gay marriage. I can't stand it. It's marriage. I don't have a gay marriage license. I have a marriage license, but it's really boring, And I think some of these zealots sort of understand that, and they realize that if they don't keep screaming, nobody's going to give a shit that that the two guys next door got married, or the two lesbians, over on Elm Street got married. Like, nobody cares. But so they're trying to keep it alive, and it's, I don't know, but poor Alabama, man. I feel bad for our brothers and sisters in whatever they call that state.
Yeah, that state is somewhere between you and I today, so maybe we should have it as our meeting place and do a live podcast from there someday.
We should just go, like, protest
live from
Alabama.
Them. That would be great. Two queers, the twist. Speaking of which, you had referenced it earlier, and I know. And the next segment we're going to talk about is a new addition to the show that we'll do on the twist. It's called #YourIt, but not to give that away. Mark will talk about that in a minute here, folks. I want to talk about the black plight in America, and back to your comment about the textbook in Texas and how it can erase history. Well, a study came out this week showing the 10 worst cities to be black in. Like, if you're an African-American person, these are the 10 cities that you don't want to live in. And what I find so interesting, being a Midwesterner living in the South, we talk a lot about equality, and I've lived in the two worlds. I've lived here now 8 years down in the South. I lived most of my adult life in the Midwest. So comparatively speaking, I can kind of have a base on, what life is like to be to live in either of those settings as it comes to racial equality or racial inequality. But of the 10 cities, Mark, would you believe that all 10 of them are Midwestern cities?
Of the worst places to be black?
Yes. 4 of the cities with the worst racial inequality are actually in Illinois. 2 are in Iowa. All of them in the Midwest. Number 1 city, what do you think it is? The worst place for racial equality?
Chicago.
Oh, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh my God, that's our, like, that's us.
That's where we played years ago and did our work. I lived there 9 years. And it's very interesting because after the Civil War and after all that ended, African Americans fled from the oppressive Jim Crow policies of the South, if you will, and they headed to the North, where there was a lot of industrial opportunities. And relatively speaking, a lot of people didn't have to have a good education for well-paying jobs. Back then, it was industrial type work. Well, when you look at what happened over that period of time, since 1970, that whole region of industrial growth in our country has kind of dried up all the way through recent Detroit and the auto industry. And it's known now as the Rust Belt. So these people migrated and moved to these cities. And like in other parts of the Midwest, they're now, in a tough manufacturing situation where there's not a lot of work. So just to highlight Milwaukee, for instance, 16% are black of a population of 1.6 million. The black median household income as percentage to white is only 41%. The black unemployment rate is 17% compared to the overall unemployment rate of 6%. It's an interesting study. I really encourage people to go out and read it, Mark. I think the EPI put it out. You can Google it, and you'll see the 10 worst cities. They're all Midwestern.
Oh, wow. Well, that's kind of a surprise to me.
I know.
It's #YourIt. Hey, this is our new segment, folks.
Yes.
Along with the weekly red lines and the final bell, which we will go back and forth with every week. But anyways, #YourIt now. And I figure we'll do this until hashtags aren't a thing anymore. They're not going to be a thing forever. I would give it another 5 years.
I think people are going to start putting them on their tombstones. I do.
Right, and it's really hard to come up with an original hashtag because we tried this week, and then I go online, and all of a sudden these hashtags people are using them already. So we're just going to go and I'm not going to worry about whether it's out there or not. But it's the hashtag this week. Do I talk too much? I do.
No, this is good. We need to set this up.
Right, so just so people know, #YourIt is the segment, and the hashtag this week is realer than you, because what happened was. I think it was, Rupert Murdoch. Yes, he made one of his many crazy comments. right-wing comments about Ben Carson versus Barack Obama, and it was something to the effect of, let's see what a real black president would do, meaning Ben Carson. And so he ended up apologizing for it, but it struck a chord for me, first of all, because it was, it's arguably racist, whether you meant it that way or not. But it's just this whole realer than you thing mentality that we have had, and it's not unique to Rupert Murdoch. Everybody does it. And it just bugs me, like real Americans, so and so. If you and I don't agree, it's really easy for me to accuse you of not being a real homosexual. You're not a real Democrat. You're not a real liberal. You're not a real progressive. You're not a real American. You're not a real Second Amendment advocate. You're not a real black person. So I think you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
And it bugs me because I live in a big tent. Like even on my Facebook page, I have born again friends. I have evangelical friends and family members, and it's cool. I have one guy who always I won't name him, but he's like my uncle, and I guess I just did. But anyways, he'll go on and say like, Jesus stuff on my site, and it's okay. He doesn't mean any harm. He's not telling me I'm going to hell. That's what he believes about various issues. That's the lens through which he sees the world, and I'm fine with that as long as you don't offend me or belittle me. I'm cool with that. So I don't consider myself realer in some area than he is, but Christians do it too, Rick. There's lots of folks out there like,
oh my God,
who think that you're not a real Christian because you're gay. Like you can't be gay and a Christian, so you're not a real Christian.
Only 90% of me is Christian,
And anyways, that's my vent for the week. My hashtag realer than you, because
tell again what that hashtag is. Realer
than you, and we need to stop it. That's why, and the gays do it too. The twists do it too. With like these two hotel.
I'm way more gay than you, Mark.
Well, these two hoteliers, this goes back a few months, who had hosted Ted Cruz at their house, and they donated to him. I think they discovered that
they're less gay now, aren't they?
Well, anyways, they were vilified and excoriated, and they did a boycott shit, and they had a plane fly over, denouncing them over in Provincetown. And I get it that I don't have to patronize your business, but I'm not going to say that you're not a real gay person because you're Republican. I think that's bullshit, and we need to stop it.
I know, and I for years, as a real Democrat, have said you're not a real Republican. I mean, a Democrat you're not a real gay if you're a log cabiner. So realer than you, hashtag realer than you. Send us your comments. Use hashtag realer than you. We'll check it out.
How are they going to send their comments?
Oh, all you got to do is hashtag realer than you and write something, and then we'll see.
Oh, that's right. And they could also reach us at 2twists@thetwistpodcast.com.
Yeah. Number 2, right? Twists.
2 twists. Yeah, because, okay, it's one of my old school favorite words for a gay man was a twist. But also our tagline is news and opinion with a twist. So take your pick.
Speaking of news and opinion, our last segment today is the last bell. The final bell. That's it. Mark and I like our bells because we can cut each other off. And hey, listen, man, the bell's a good thing. So final words, I got to thinking we're in election time down here in Louisiana. October 24th is an election. And a guy that's running for state senate posted this thing on Facebook. It says, vote for Gotti. We are pro-gay, pro-country, pro-family, pro-life, pro-gun.
Pro-gay?
Pro-gun. G-U-N.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, but I thought you said okay, go ahead.
No, he didn't. No, pro-family, yes.
Oh, yes, okay. All right.
So, yeah, gay, but he's not, obviously. He's pro, whatever. But the gun thing is just, it's just wild out there right now. Over 30 some people are killed by a gun every day in this country. 30 people. And when Obama spoke at the last shooting in Oregon, I think that was his 40th speech, on the day of a mass shooting since he's been president less than, 8 years. A Huffington Post YouGovernment poll shows that 40% of Americans know someone who was fatally shot or who actually committed suicide.
Wow.
And 22% of American adults, Mark, say that they personally know someone who was killed by another person, with 6% of them saying the victim was someone in their family. I'm one of those 6%. I don't think, my uncle died at the hands of 3 gentlemen, shot dead. I've shared this story before, but they were never fined for murder because he died on cardiac arrest on a hospital table, leaving a widow to deal with that memory. It's the only time I ever saw my dad cry. And so, and I've shared the story of me picking up a gun. We had guns all over our house in northern Wisconsin, and I had anger. I was raised with a brother that was 11 months difference in age and younger than me, but bigger than me. So my protection was to grab the gun and scare the frick out of him. And I remember one time vividly almost pulling the trigger, and I'm sure that gun was loaded. So those are my personal reasons why I'm against gun control. I mean, why I'm against guns and control. I know Mark has feelings about it, probably not as strong as me. We've talked about him here on the show, but to say that we can't do anything about it is what's really got me upset. There's two comments here I want to say in the final bell. One is to say we can't do anything about it. That's absolutely not true. In the country of Australia, when they took it on, they decided to do a program where people could return their guns. It was a national buyback program for guns. And this just happened, years ago. And they were able to, in total, rid the country of 650,000 weapons, 20% of the country's total arsenal, according to some estimates. So things can happen. You can make a difference. You just have to have a plan, and you have to have a Congress that's supportive of it. We need to start changing things and passing rules. The other thing I want to comment on is when you look at mass shootings, you look at the percentages, Mark, they're done by men. And a woman named Soraya Chemaly recently, she's a media critic and writes for MS, period, and you can find her as a blogger online, talked a lot about the impact of the beta male. That in our country, the alpha male gets everything, and the beta male gets nothing. And so often these shootings, as evidenced specifically in the recent shooting in Oregon, they find writings about how they were looking for a woman and how they're pissed at women because women have denied them. And it's, when you look at the numbers, it's absolutely phenomenal that how many of these mass shootings, whether they're in malls or movie theaters or school campuses, those are places heavily populated by women. And the predominance of these mass murderers or these people doing these shootings are men. So it's a fascinating study to go out there. We can talk about mental illness as being part of it or not being part of it. You hear both sides of it. But the truth is we need to really start looking at this anti-feminism movement and what's going on in our country with the imbalance between men and women and those issues, because it's pretty strong. I won't give a lot of time to our quotes. I just encourage people to go online because it really resonated with me as I was trying to find someone to align with and some opinions to really ride with. And that's the one I'm going with. She's pretty strong.
Excellent. And the only thing I'm going to throw in there is that it was in the New York Times again today that a significant majority of gun owners want sane gun laws.
Yes.
They're not opposed to gun control. I don't even like the control word. We need to change that word. They're not opposed to gun laws, common sense gun laws, but they're just completely overruled and drowned out by the far, the fetishists. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's a fetish. It
is what it is. And, I'm just looking at the stat here because I kind of didn't know when I was grappling for how many. During the past 30 years, all but one of the mass murders in the U.S. was committed by a man, 90% of whom were white.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sure they were white,
point the trigger,
too.
4 fingers point back at you. As a white man, I got to see what I can do about this issue.
Okay. Thank you for your final bell. Thank you for another fabulous show. We just, and it felt really smooth. This is where we're going.
That's right, baby.
And very soon we will be The Twist at thetwistpodcast.com, and we'll be rocking
I'm more twisted than you. Hashtag realer than you.
Yes. Hashtag realer than me.
Yes.
You certainly are.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks, Mark.
Have a good weekend. Ciao.
Bye, guys.